Hello, Contrarians listeners, Contrarians fans. Here we are with the later Contrarians warm up. This time it's for a very special pick, a pick from a celebrity. Alex, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm wearing my chest burster Gerald shirt,
Yes.
a live stream exclusive. If you like it and you want one, too bad, because they were only sold during the live stream for The Cure. Better luck next year. I don't know what kind of Gerald exclusive they'll have, but this is Gerald.
Flash run.
maybe they'll have Gerald in the Terminator, or I don't know, some other iconic image. But yeah, here he is popping out from the chest of someone. This is right before he told us, hey, you guys need to do Barb Wire on your show. And that's what we're doing here. This is the warm-up for Barb Wire, Pamela Anderson vehicle that neither of us had seen. And now we have... And we did a full Contrarians Corner on it, and then a full Real Talk on it. Alex owns it now; it's part of his collection.
It's true.
And I rented it. I wasn't as brave, but you know what to expect if you've seen one of these before. We are going to do some Rotten Tomatoes quotes. We're going to do the Josh Gad Minute, and then Alex is going to do some trivia. Lots of fun all around. Now, I mentioned this in the episode, Alex. There is not a whole lot of quotes, rotten or fresh. I mean, the movie's rotten, but there's not a whole lot to pick from. So we already used most of them in the episode. So I have one quote from Rotten Tomatoes, and then the rest is from Letterboxd.
We're going back now, Gerald. I missed a window for a joke about 20 minutes ago, but I couldn't remember fucking Wilhelm von Homburg's name in Ghostbusters 2. But what I was going to say, after looking it up and confirming Vigo, that was it. It was, yeah. That should be the shirt next year, is Gerald, but Vigo. You know, the big painting. That should be the limited run shirt next year.
All right. I don't remember the name of the guy that does these, because the year before, he did, it wasn't a shirt, sadly. It was just like a prize. He did Gerald posing as Kate Winslet in Titanic with a microphone, covering his crotch. Yeah. It was glorious. And Gerald.
Well, the call is out.
Yeah, that's a Contrarians vote. But anyway, I'll start with the quote from Rotten Tomatoes, and we'll go to Letterboxd. So Edward Margulies from Movie Line says, the past 2 years have been bad movie mana for fans of deliriously cheesy sci-fi thrillers set in the near future. So what was going on the 2 years leading to Barb Wire that this guy was like, yes, this is what we all wanted. If what you wanted was bad sci-fi movies.
Cheesy. Did people really not like Judge Dredd upon initial release?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the Stallone Dredd, not the Carl Urban Dredd that came later.
Talking mid-90s, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Rob Schneider Dredd. Was he a judge? I've never seen it. Is it Judge Schneider?
It's been a long time since I've seen it. I don't feel comfortable talking about it. Shit, I don't know. What else came out in the mid-90s that was like dystopian future?
I mean, we mentioned them in the show.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Yes. Tank Girl is later, right? Tank Girl and Aeon Flux.
Aeon Flux is definitely later. Aeon Flux is early 2000s, right? 02, 03, something like that. Tank Girl was 95, so that qualifies too, because this was
there you go.
Yeah, around that time. So yeah, there's a couple rattled off the top of our heads there.
T2.
Yeah, I know.
That's also like
tanked miserably. Demolition Man was another one, right? I know that's one that's kind of beloved by people now, but if I remember correctly,
that's become a cult classic, I think.
Received too well, yeah.
All right. I guess we
point
see
taken.
What you're saying.
I think Barb Wire, we discussed in the episode, Barb Wire is better than those movies we just listed. So
yes. All right, so let's go to Letterboxd, where Aaron gives Barb Wire 5 stars and a heart. He says, the director yelled, we're cutting for a break, but Pamela Anderson heard, we have history to make, and rolled with it.
Okay.
He watched this on March 28, 2023, so that's a pretty recent one.
It's close to us.
Endured.
I can't say that our thoughts are too far off from that either. So.
5 stars in the heart, man. I don't know about that. Ludovic gives the movie 2.5 stars and says they should remake this with Lily James just for shits and giggles. No. I did not understand this until you reminded me in the episode that Lily James plays Pamela Anderson and that Pam and Tommy, is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're not a fan?
No, I made it 2 or 3 episodes and gave up on it.
But is it the performance from Lily James, or is it just
The
the
show's
show?
not good.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy who
Bucky?
who's your boy from MCU. He's fine. The problem is also, as discussed not too long ago on Contrarians After Hours, that movie The Dirt came out in modern time also, and like
Mhm.
that's not a good movie. But Machine Gun Kelly is so much better as Tommy Lee than Bucky is as Tommy Lee.
Sebastian Stan.
Thank you. And I did not saddle up for this tonight thinking I was going to say that Machine Gun Kelly was a better actor than somebody, but for the purposes of what they were playing, I really enjoyed his Tommy Lee much more. And it's just the show is so like, bleh. It's like, to me, it just feels like what someone thinks making something that was made in the 90s would look like in 2023 to like, or 22, whenever it came out, to a really annoying degree.
Okay. Well, that's a shame because I really, without really saying if I liked Barbed Wire or not, I can say that really got me interested in seeing more Pamela Anderson related stuff. But I guess Pam and Tommy might not be it. You did mention that there's a Netflix documentary about her now, right? So maybe that's the way to go. Mushy Minion gives it 4 stars and says, now, I haven't seen Casablanca before, so other than the blatant riff on the famous ending, I can't comment on how much Barbed Wire stole from it. But I am
everything.
But I am fairly confident that movie didn't end with Humphrey Bogart fist fighting a Nazi while suspended by a crane hundreds of feet in the air. So this is obviously the better movie. I don't even think that Bogey throws a punch at Casablanca. I can't remember. I think it's all just him manipulating behind the scenes.
Yeah. I don't know. You'll see our positive thoughts on Barbed Wire, or hear them rather, in the episode, but not even the Contrarians dare to go as far as to say it's better than Casablanca.
I mean, I can say that Casablanca doesn't have Udo Kier, and
it does not.
That's a big win for Barbed Wire.
Doesn't have titties in the opening credits either.
Just wait for the Casablanca remake.
No, the lost reel that comes out. The opening is just like Humphrey Bogart just like helicoptering in a sprinkler at the beginning.
All right, and we're going to close with Kayla. Gives it 4 stars and says, truly deserves a Criterion release.
Hey, brother, if
give me those supplements.
If Beyond the Valley of the Dolls can get one, and I understand the historical significance of that being the movie that like Roger Ebert wrote, but like even like Valley of the Dolls, go way back in the annals of Contrarians history for that. But there are plenty, like those just come to mind because they're ones that I own. But there are plenty of Criterion releases that fall in the category of more like niche and preserved for the sake of like its cult status or some shit. So I don't think Barbed Wire is happening anytime soon. But if it did, I would be one of the first people to defend it, like on Twitter, being like, yes, good move.
They came to you and were like, Contrarian Alex, would you do us the honor of writing the essay that's going to go in the booklet?
Yes, I would. And I would start it by talking about the 1995 Royal Rumble and be like, as Pamela Anderson stood next to Shawn Michaels in the Sundome or whatever that place was called, little did she know what would be on the horizon just a few short years away.
Yeah, sign me up. I'll pre-buy it. Let me know when the pre-sale starts for the Barbed Wire Criterion, and I'll be there.
I don't know what we're rocking on the cover, but the disc art is absolutely that profile shot of Pamela Anderson in that bathtub that like goes under, like you can see you know what I'm talking about? It's like the level, and then the tub is like crystal, it's glass, you can see through it. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, the cover actually we mentioned it in the episode. The cover would be Clint Howard stuck in a fridge with an apple in his mouth.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's just that. No context. It's just Barbed Wire.
Who's David Hogan? Was that the director? A David Hogan film.
I wonder if there's a Criterion that features Clint Howard, not on the cover, but at least like does he have that in his filmography?
There has to be. That dude's been in so many movies.
Yeah, he's just like buckshot.
Blue is the warmest color. Duh.
Yes, yeah, sure. That's him. He plays her boyfriend at the beginning of the movie, right?
Just like in the background at like the lesbian bar, just like, jamming out to music. I'm just like, is that Clint Howard?
Why not? All right. Well, enough of these reviews. Before we move on to trivia, we are going to do the Josh Gad minute. Where do we put Josh Gad in this movie? Barb Wire. Speaking of Clint Howard, I mean, would he replace Clint Howard? Is that the easy one?
Yeah, but like, he could also be Charlie, the brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
That
He gets a couple good
or
scenes.
or you just go for the cameo route and he's the dude that gets the stiletto heel in his forehead, or he's the bad guy that gets killed in the opening scene.
Okay.
Because this movie does have a little bit of the cameo sprinkle in it because of Zeus as the bouncer, but that, or he could be the sweaty guy that thinks she's a prostitute and tries to pick her up and take her back to the hotel.
I think that one nails it because that is
Yeah.
that guy has enough screen time where you don't feel like it's a waste of Josh Gad.
Yeah, he's got like a 5 or 6 minute scene, and yeah, Charlie came to mind, but like you put Gad in any of those like top 5 roles, it really alters the dynamics of the film.
You don't want to see Josh Gad getting tortured.
No, and you don't want to see Josh Gad blind either, because it's like, what are we doing?
You don't want to see him with the sad backstory about you don't know how I got these scars.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be against him replacing Django Fett. And if you want to know why,
the love interest.
Yes, just listen to the episode so you can hear me complain about Django Fett. But yeah, Josh Gad is the guy that ends up dressing like the Gimp in Pulp Fiction. That works. Now, let's see what you have as far as trivia goes, Alex.
One thing I was disappointed that I forgot to mention when discussing Django Fett to Tamara, sorry, brother, Morrison. Tamara? Django Fett. That's what we call him for the sake of the episode. Anyway, many moons ago on our Patreon, we did a complete retrospective on WWE Studios and the movies they've put out. And he was the bad guy in The Marine 2, starring Ted DiBiase Jr. And I had forgotten about that. That movie's got fucking Michael Rooker in it too, and so
yeah. But you know what that movie doesn't have? John Cena,
or the really hot woman from Nip Tuck, or Robert Patrick. But anyway, back to Barb Wire. The opening wet strip, in which that's in quotations, in which Barb dances in a strip club with her breasts hanging out of her rubber dress while being sprayed with water, was suggested by Pamela Anderson after she was inspired by a nightmare she had in which she was being sprayed with champagne while performing a nasty dance. David Hogan, who was under pressure to include more nudity, liked the idea and threw out the movie's original opening to include it. But you gotta wonder what the original opening
was. Right? It was just her playing poker in the strip club.
It's like actually it's a 20-minute opening. Like the whole first reel was just the opening credits of her rescuing somebody or doing something. The original comic book ended its run shortly after the film's disappointing reception, so that's a bummer, especially if you like that.
Are they implying that the movie killed the comic?
I'm sure you could find someone who was behind the comic that would tell you that. This made me actually want to go back, and we talk about the episode that this is detailed, chronicled, of the Pam and Tommy series. Clint Howard reprised his role for that episode, so he's in there. Because Clint Howard's never turning down a meal, brother. He'll take it anytime he can get it.
He said, I can play Django Fett if you want me to.
According to the crew of Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, Gramercy Pictures and Universal decided to scale back on the movie's intended wide release and redirect the resources into heavily promoting this one, resulting in a disappointing theatrical gross for both films. So 2 films for Universal ended up getting effed because of Barb Wire, because y'all were too cynical for a hot movie. Some resentment towards Gramercy and specifically this movie would turn up as jokes in later seasons of Mystery Science Theater 3000. when once asked at a 1996 convention if there was ever going to be a special edition Laserdisc of Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, Michael J. Nelson quipped that he didn't know, quote, but you can find 35 millimeter prints of Barb Wire in the dumpster behind Gramercy Pictures.
And called for.
Yeah, joke's on him. That shit's worth a lot of money now. You have that. Referencing the bath scene, that was fresh on my mind because I had read this, because I had just watched it again before we recorded. But Pamela insisted on the bubble bath scene being added to the film so that she'd be able to use a perspex bath for the first time. I don't know what that means. I looked it up. It's basically like those bathtubs you see in like really fancy suites that are just like giant like bowls. It's not like, and they're obviously detached, and you got to be rich to have one of those fuckers. The Holiday Inn Express I stayed at over the weekend did not have a perspex bathtub in it. I'll tell you that right now. So she could use it for the first time, or use one for the first time. Unfortunately, such a niche prop was challenging for the runners to source, and in the end, they shot the scene at the city aquarium in the tank they usually use to house the little seahorses. The soap suds contaminated 5 tanks in total, costing the production over $400,000 in fish-related deaths and replacements. So I need to go back and watch the closing credits to see if they have the no animals were harmed during the filming of this.
Or like in memoriam, all the courses.
That to me is like, yeah, in loving memory of our friends. And seahorses are adorable, so that is sad. But I was disappointed that that is not like a more widely known piece of lore. That should come along with the movie. That will be in the essay I write for it, as enough time has passed for us to laugh at the hilarity of something like that.
I am glad it's not more widely known, though, because I know that that's just one of those things that would ultimately come back to her. Like the story would be like, oh, she wanted the bathtub scene, so of course all these
high maintenance.
Yeah, and then all these creatures had to die. But you know what? It looks awesome in the movie.
It does.
So,
and not just from like a horny teen perspective. Like it actually is a good shot too.
It's no CGI. Those are real bubbles.
They are, and that's really Pamela Anderson, brother. The 1997 MTV Movie Award for Best Fight sadly did not go to Pamela Anderson and Steve Railsback. They were nominated, though. They lost that to Fairuza Balk and Robin Tunney.
And The Craft? Come on.
Other nominees included Jackie Chan versus a Ladder from Police Story 4, Jim Brown versus Alien from Mars Attacks, and Matthew Broderick versus Jim Carrey from The Cable Guy.
Have you seen Mars Attacks? That Jim Brown fight, it's like 10 seconds. I wouldn't give it the award, but I'm kind of glad that they recognized it.
I need to rewatch that movie, man. That's I was way too young when that came out to appreciate what it was trying to do. The main thing I remember from the 97 movie awards is it's when they gave Chewbacca the Lifetime Achievement Award. And they had the actor who played him, I believe, actually got in the suit and walked up there and accepted it. And because it's relevant and I love this story so much, MTV Movie Award Lifetime Achievement was obviously, they gave it to Chewbacca. It was kind of like a gag. And they gave it to Godzilla one year. And it was like done for shits and giggles, and it's like this funny part of the show that we can have. But in 98, they gave it to our friend Clint Howard. And showed like this really like nice career retrospective of what Clint Howard had done up until that point. And the story goes, and you can find the speech probably on YouTube or something, it did not seem he understood that this was kind of tongue-in-cheek, and he was like genuinely like moved by it, appreciative of it. And the kind of classy thing was MTV after that stopped it, because they're like, we don't want to keep giving this out to like jokes and stuff, and then it kind of damages what was a nice moment for like this accomplished actor. So the 98, when he received that was the last time they gave that out.
I want to just thank the fans that get a kick out of me. I want to thank the people that hire me. I'm going to share this with my family, my wife, Melanie, my dad, Rance, my mom, Jean. And Ron, you're a great older brother. You're a pretty good director. You're a great older brother. Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
I love that story. I wish that had been the year that Barbed Wire came out, so it would have just been
And yeah, I
the
need to
final
thank
clip.
my Barbed Wire co-star,
Yes.
Pamela Anderson. Cuts to her in the crowd, like when Leo won his Oscar and Kate Winslet was sitting up crying. You got Pamela Anderson down there. And then just kind of closing, and this, if you haven't listened to the episode yet, I think it's a good aperitif to kind of get you ready for it. Barbed Wire was panned by critics. Roger Ebert pointed out that the film's plot was identical to that of Casablanca and derided the lowbrow attempts at sensuality, but praised the cast and crew's approach to the material. This is an excerpt from a review we dive further into. The filmmakers must have known they were not making a good movie, but they didn't use that as an excuse to be boring and lazy. Barbed Wire has a high energy level and a sense of deranged fun. He ended up giving it 2.5 stars on a scale of 4. Similarly to Ebert, Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly commented on the film's aping of Casablanca's plot and its, quote, teasing, hollow naughtiness, but further said that the film is lacking in energy, and gave it a C. Janet Maslin of the New York Times criticized Anderson's performance, comparing her to Barbie and Barbarella. And both in both parts of this episode of The Contrarians, I think we spend a good amount of time talking about some of the misconceptions and also falsities that have been perpetuated about one Pamela Anderson Lee's acting. Got to call it out because she was Pamela Anderson Lee at the time, even though the Blu-ray now is just Pamela Anderson.
I take issue with is it Gleiberman, whoever said that the movie's aping Casablanca, because that makes it sound like it's not obvious. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like, oh, let's just copy Casablanca and hope nobody notices. I think that they're riffing on Casablanca. It's part of the joke.
Yo, the ending is so tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Well,
if you I'm not going to give it away. The last line of the movie is incredible. If you haven't seen it already, watch it and then listen to our episode.
It's 90 minutes. It's 90 minutes. You should watch it.
And it is not low on energy. It's not boring. It's, we always talk about the movies from the 90s that were just 90-minute music videos. It's kind of that, but it has more substance to it than you would think.
Yeah. Unless you absolutely hate Pamela Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, then this is probably not for you. But other than that, it's worth watching. And then you can just listen to the episode, know exactly what we're talking about. If you don't watch it, you'll still be able to follow along. And then next time, we'll be covering the Eddie Murphy comeback vehicle, some people have said. Dolomite Is My Name, a Netflix original. So that's next on your homework. Watch Dolomite and be ready for that episode. Before that, Barbed Wire, and then our episode. So
a natural double feature there.
I think so, because they were both very popular at one point, and then they disappeared, and then they came back. And Pamela Anderson and Eddie Murphy, just tale us all this time. But anyway, thank you for checking out our video. Thank you for checking out the podcast, as we know you will, and we'll talk to you again soon.